Hi, welcome. My name's Dale McCluskey. I'd like to welcome you back. This is part two of my responding to the various talking points put out by those who identify as force-free when it comes to a process, and here specifically in terms of service dog training. My last video, starting to go through some of the talking points. Again, one of the kind of trigger points, okay, right away in terms of, of optics is certain tools, which I talked about. So again, I talk about tools being an extension of a process, but the foundation of the process itself, in terms of reconciling the role of influence by way again of a intentional interaction-based method. Understand that that is the framework, that is the foundation. So again, when I talk about the context of certain tools, for example, here pictured here, remote collar being used as a secondary tool, and prong collar, which I do not use as a tool, not because, and here's the problem with those identified as force free, they just look at a tool and say, I just don't like the look of it, okay, and they, it looks barbaric, and there's, because understand that everything that in terms of interpretation, in terms of assessing a tool, it's all superficial because it's coming through a process or an idea of things that lacks depth. It does not connect dots in terms of a process, in terms of how a dog's decision-making process is influenced and governed, and then how this layers up in terms of all the inherent problems, even in terms of the service dog training industry with dogs that are attached to individuals but in a possessive way. So you see it out there. This is where you get into one of the telltale signs is dogs that are unable to perform specific responses that require a higher level of focus. And you'll see that, okay, in terms of, say, picking up an object by way of within a very distracting area, helping person get up off the floor. And so again, this is where you get in this whole thing with there's lots of dogs out there, and you'll see it, but these dogs are not connected the right way. And so again, we talk about going through the various, talking points. You hear these trainers trying to incite, trying to inflame based again on appearances. That's what's going on to market their, again, bribery-based permissive ideology. So again, this is all about talking through it, because what I do here, and again, this is where I encourage you to watch the debate where I go on the Miracle Canine. They invite me on for a debate. It was a very uncomfortable conversation for those who identify, say, as balanced dog trainers, because I actually, connect dots. I actually talk about, okay, these, situations, these controversies that have happened in the dog training world, they're no fluke, they're no accident, they're no coincidence, they're inherent to the confusion out there in terms of what represents a process. And so I connect all the dots to that and point right towards what I'm saying in terms of, okay, a process represents, once a relationship problem is underway, it's not a learning-based exercise with, motivating dogs to respond using treats, okay? It takes a path of a intervention. And so again, when you consider just how many dogs are within a training environment can look fantastic moving around for something that they want, such as a treat, doing a great sit, a great down, a great come, but then coming out the other side, say, well, hold on here a second, it looked great in the training environment, but I'm still dealing with a relationship problem. I still have all these issues happening. Well, that's not because there's something wrong with the dog. It's because there's everything wrong with this idea through its application. Again, I talk about, a intentional interaction-based method that changes the perception of dogs the right way. So again, I talk about going through, they say, for example, service dog training process. If you watch on my YouTube channel, it's a great kind of illustration as to, going through a sequence. Okay, so again, it's about changing perception of dogs the right way at the beginning of that process, and then about midway through, once a dog's perception changed at a pretty good level, then starting to get into the response side of things. So again, talk about there's a time and place, but here through this permissive bribery-based ideology, that's not happening. Okay, they're trying to generate responses right away without considering why that'd be a problem. Okay, based again on the perceptions of dogs in terms of relationship, and it's not just about superficial response. and why everything starts to fall to pieces for so many dogs and owners. So here, again, I'm going to play some of this video. This is a canine Tay, okay, trying to, really trying to push this ideology out. Again, she's talking about these tools. Again, this is, understand that when you hear trainers talk about, say, a prong collar, which I don't use as a tool, and I talk about the reasons for that, not because it looks, based on its looks, okay, based on, again, on the fact it looks barbaric, based, again, everything that, when you consider whether you use certain tools, should be on in terms of how it aligns through influence in terms of intercepting the dog's state of mind. Okay, I talk about the tools I use or don't use, but here when you get into force-free, where it's all based on appearances, lack of depth, superficial, okay, it's bribery, it's all about bribing dogs. Therefore, anything such as any tool that will generate influence onto a dog, they're going to have a problem with that. But then again, you get in this whole issue about, well, you factor in all the blame shifting on the dogs, okay, dogs that are attached not the right way, but they're they're in a possessive way, and all the inherent problems, they're going to just try to write all that off. They don't want to kind of look in the mirror to say, oh, well, where did this all, why is this happening? So understand that we're at that level now where I get trainers out there that just they got a lot to say in social media, but like I said before in the last video, Canine Tay wouldn't want someone like me showing up at her training facility to do a proper audit in terms of, a process, or in terms of, the perception of dogs, because it wouldn't be good. Okay, wouldn't like the information, but that's the truth of it. As to, okay, why is all this happening? So again, I'll play some of this video and respond to some more of these talking points, okay, by way of Canine Tay.
Capable of. If you have to use not one but two, a prong collar and a shot collar.
Tired of running back and forth to the pharmacy?
Multiple corrective tools on an animal to force them to comply to help you, then they're not suitable to.
See, and that's the thing here, because again, you talk about force to comply. And see, then ask the question, well, what is force? Okay, I talk about, the motivator. Okay, the wrong way to be thinking, the wrong way to be engaging is, such as here, you need a treat, you need to do something to elicit a response. But here's the thing that, again, that's missing from this equation here is the current state of the relationship. Okay, when you deal with a dog that has gained control, when you deal with a relationship problem, this is a thing that's totally absent here that trainers like Canine Tay don't even get. They just jump in, and anything except bribery, right, is now a problem. But this is challenging for all trainers. When I talk about not using a motivator, even balanced dog trainers who will engage the same way using, motivating agents, will have a problem. Say, well, what do you use then? But see, consider, this is why I keep talking about the parent example so much in my videos. Once a child has become selfish, is it about engaging that way? Is it just about superficial response that way? You have to think about that. So what's the motivator? The motivator is the relationship. Okay, there's the key. The motivator is the social aspect. Dogs as pack animals, that their desire to connect at that level with the human. Then the bridge, okay, or the tie-in is, again, on top of control and influence. You see me with a leash, okay, a dog coming into agreement, okay, a dog coming into agreement through what's, again, the right language of the method, what's reasonable, dog accepting, okay, intentional control and influence. And so a dog will still end up, say, in the sit position or in a down position. But those core ingredients are now part of the equation now, the right way. Here, there's this complete disconnect, this complete separation from any of that, just to say, oh, force. Right? And then you end up with a bad result, meaning that the dog, moving around for treats, and then you might feel, and this is the problem, people who are highly emotional, that fuels, that feeds into their emotions. It just does. It's a really difficult thing to get people out of. And then, when something, when you have a bad result, oh, there's something wrong with the dog. So easy just to shove it off, and that's what's happening. In fact, a lot of service dog trainers, they would never touch the dogs that I work with. Never. They would tell the person, well, you need to get another dog, you need to get a brand new dog, a young puppy. But that's even a roll of the dice, okay? Because, if you get a dog, new dog, you may end up with a dog that has a higher level social need anyway, and you're going to be in the same position. See, that's how this all cycles through all the time. And so here, understand language, force, right? That's the trigger point here. Well, if you they can't, it's just understand this is like hardwired into the dog training community. They can't shake loose from it. It's impossible for a lot of these trainers
to be a service animal, or they're not ready. So what is a service animal? Let's look that up first, and then we'll see, why training matters and why I'm talking about this. And I'm sure I'm going to get a whole lot of hate on this, and I don't care. It needs to be said. A service dog.
So saying, well, no, a whole lot of hate, needs to be said. It's not about hating. Understand, it's not about hate. If you watch my, flipping the script videos, you won't hear me engaging in cheap shots, getting personal with any of these trainers. But it is about having a discussion. Okay, understand it's about information, the right information. So I believe that when, again, these trainers are that's why I do my series, these trainers are putting out all this information, and you hear them, and this is the thing, you hear them talk about misinformation and it's totally upside down. No, this is the misinformation being put out. Okay, this is the problem in the dog training world. Just look at the mess of the dog training world. That's the thing that's incredible, is people don't want to look at it. They don't want to line it up. They don't want to connect dots to it, because what does that do? That puts them in a corner, right? It puts them in a trade-off situation they're not going to make, because they've already, put up their 1,000 videos. They've already, they're already marketing this way. How do you walk this back? You can't. So this is the thing. So it's not about hate. And see, that's the thing. In a lot of these trainers, they're very sensitive. In fact, they don't want anyone talking about this. In fact, they hope, they're desperate. Okay, they hope that no one questions any of it, because if you do, then the jig is up. Okay, this is a rigged game. Understand? You start to line this up as to why all the problems, and why all these dogs being blamed, and why the service dog training industry is a complete mess. It's because of these bribery-based permissive dog trainers. And the buy-in here is the owners typically are very emotional with their dog, so they're going to accept it. They're going to say, well, this dog, something just doesn't feel right, but this dog's with me, but can't pick up objects, and I got these problems that go out in the public. Well, I love my dog. See, that's the right. That's why these trainers are getting away with this, because they know there's that type of buy-in, right? That people are just going to accept that.
According to Google, is a dog that has been trained to perform tasks that assist people with disabilities. Guiding, there's a guide dog, guiding people who are blind or have low vision. Alerting people who are deaf or have hearing loss. Or there's diabetic alert, there's epileptic alerts, anxiety alert, pulling, as in pulling a wheelchair, or if you have a lot of anxiety, they can pull you out to a safe space if you're in a crowded area.
Now I'm talking about some of this too. Now this is the fuzzy area here. Okay, you get in certain dogs that supposedly alert. Now, one of the inherent problems you understand is that when I talk about the focus of a dog, okay, the perceptions of a dog, when you engage in this permissive bribery-based ideology, that dog is not going to have good focus, period. Okay, and just like, think about a selfish child that doesn't have good focus, right? That dog is not, this is why you see dogs like, supply source. They're just, their head swiveling. Tremendous problem. So when you get into these trainers, okay, that talk about these dogs that can do certain things, it's a major problem. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, it's a very fuzzy area to get into.
Calming people with post-traumatic stress disorder during an anxiety attack. Reminding people to take, with mental illness, to take prescribed medications. Preventing... Again,
a lot of fuzziness here.
A child with autism from wandering away. Or also so many more things. They can get the parents and let them know. They can push a button to say, hey, this kid's having, an episode, like a seizure or something's going on. They're also known to assist, they're also known as assistant animals or helper animals. They are permitted to go all public facilities where the public is allowed to go, including hospitals, clinic, cafeterias, and examination rooms, when they are properly trained service animals.
Okay, that's a joke. Okay, understand that. I mean, that's the thing's incredible. So anything to do with bribery-based permit, this type of permissive, is not properly trained. It's not proper training.
So not every dog is going to be a service animal. Not every dog can be a service animal. In fact, I think the statistic is, I may have it wrong, but 80% of dogs that are trained and raised to be service dogs fall out of it.
Okay, fall out of it mainly. Okay, understand. So incredible here, this statement, right? So understand it's like there's always an out. Okay, and so how this kind of works is you hear these trainers say, well, not everyone can be trained, and then they get to a certain point and they fall out of training. Well, they're falling out of training because the process itself, they're engaged in this bribery permissive, approach. And so the perception of dogs aren't changing, and they say, oh, that dog just doesn't qualify. There's always this frame. It's a frame job. Okay, understand it's a frame job. So my encouragement, I'll stop it here because I could go through, it's just incredible what's happened in the dog training world. But understand the dog training industry, it's a mess. Okay, it's a mess. Service dog training, there's so many dogs out there and that's not to say I've been around, you see I look at a dog and I can tell, okay, that dog is properly trained. Okay, there's dogs out there that are definitely at that level. Okay, they've hit that mark. But there's so many, you look around, there's so many that are not. And, the dogs are with people, but in a possessive way. And there's been situations, okay, where some of these dogs have killed children. There's incidents that happen here. Some really bad stuff is going on with these animals, and these trainers will write it off to say, well, there's just something genetically not right with that. They're not taking any responsibility for the fact that, no, it was bad at the beginning. These dogs were never, the relationship change part of it never happened. And so these dogs, bad things happen all the time, and they want to pin it on the genetics of the dog. No, in the majority of cases, it's the process. That's it. It's a human problem. You just look at this bribery-based permissive ideology. When a dog has a true genetic problem, the dog won't even make it to a training facility. It won't make it as far as, to a training facility. Trust me, it's going to be so off. But when you get into this issue, this is why you get in these articles with these trainers talking about. You go back and read the article put out by Mark Dare. He was coming up targeting Cesar Millan through that article. Read the end part of that article. It talks about dog aggression, and then they start to see the off ramp with that type of narrative for these trainers. Oh, there's something. Oh, it could be something genetically wrong with the dog. Goes on. See, that's the out. I understand there has to be an out here because when you embrace a lie, there's consequences. There has to be a way out, and that's exactly what's going on in the service dog training industry. That's what's going on just in general in the dog training world with all the blame shifting on the dogs, because this is a major problem. It's a spillover effect. So this is what's popular. This is the go-to. This is the default setting with these trainers. Yeah, I talk about that. So I encourage, again, check out my website. I put lots of great information about a method, what the method is, what the process is. I talk about service dog training. So again, if you're if you're considering, you're thinking about, you already have a service dog and you know where I'm coming from, okay, you look at this and say, okay, there's a problem here, you can contact me. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions about service dog training, about what a method represents, and help you get to where you need to go in the process. Thanks for watching.